Welcome back everyone, and for this video I will be unboxing the long-awaited Alien Monster High Skullector doll. She is based on the movie Alien, as you can probably tell. This is her box. It's the sliding type. I have noticed the boxes have gotten a little bit flimsier as the Skullector lines have gone on. But she was not that wide of a release, although I do think they realized how sought after she was after the fact, because she released 3 times. One for the Monster High membership, I forget what it's called, fan club? Yes. Which I did pay for just to get the chance to be able to get her early. Usually these drops are limited. They have a set number that they'll drop for members, and then for the public sale they'll have the rest of them. Thankfully this time around I was able to get 2, one for my friend and one for me, and I already gave her hers, so we are both excited to own this amazing doll. Here you can see the back of the box. In space, no one can hear you scream is what it says. Very cool. And then if you open it, you'll see it has some dialogue and stuff in reference to the movie. I'm not going to read it. I'm sure you could find it online, but just to let y'all know that it's there. The side of the box has photography of the doll itself, looking absolutely amazing. Here's the full front of the box. And then on the side, just says Alien with the smoke. And then you can see the actual doll itself is in a glossy finish, whereas the rest of it is matte. So yes, she did have 3 drops technically. After the fan club release, the public sale went the following day. I think it dropped around 11 a.m. And then out of nowhere, Mattel sent an email that they were going to be dropping her again that same day, just a couple hours later. That's never been done, really unheard of for Mattel, so everyone was excited. However, I know a lot of collectors still were not able to get her. This was such a popular release. They sent dolls to non-doll collectors, just people who reviewed Alien merch on YouTube that really didn't even have that many subscribers. So they were really catering to actual fans of this movie franchise, which even I know are quite ravenous for merchandising. But she's amazing. Looks great in the doll. Comes with the covering so that you can display her in box if you'd like, but it's easily removed. Here you can see her tail is amazing. Her bodice. There's an astronomical amount of really good sculpting in this whole doll. Her entire body had to be sculpted to match the source material. I guess it didn't have to, but Mattel allowed the artist to go this far, and thank goodness they did, because it's amazing looking. So having a hard time focusing, but you can tell the back of the box is the spaceship that they're on. It's been a while since I've seen this movie, so I do apologize if I use very general language. But even if I wasn't familiar with this franchise all too much, I mean, she's gorgeous. I can just look at her. If you're a fan of monsters and monster movies and things like that, just in general, or monster designs, she's just amazing looking. I do think the material they used for her headpiece is a little... could have been done better. Maybe they could have used a different type of plastic, because it's quite foggy. And the rest of her outfit and body and everything looks really polished. And then this just kind of ruins it with this really dusty, foggy looking plastic headpiece. But yeah, let's go ahead and open her. Comes out pretty easily. They've really perfected the way that these boxes come apart, which is really nice. It seems like they use the small type of little clips, so it's not really tearing into her outfit all too much, which is great. They're definitely smaller than others I've seen. I get why they do it. You know, this is a collector piece, so a lot of people do want to keep her in the box, but you know, for those of us that don't, it would be nice if they don't put holes in the doll's clothing. Okay, she's free, and I have to say, taking her out of the box felt like taking out a figure instead of a doll. One thing I was happy about, Oh, she still has one. I didn't have to pull this out from the blister. You know, usually you have to pull the doll's head out just to get her free. I didn't have to do that. There was this string. I don't know if that's supposed to be part of it, but it just got loose and I just pulled her out. I did separate her hands so that I could take her out safely. The pegs on this doll feel a lot thicker than the usual ones, which is really nice. First off, she feels quite hefty. Like, Emily was really light. I'm sorry I keep mentioning Emily, but that's the last Skullector I bought, so I'm comparing her to Emily a lot because of that. But Emily felt really light. It made sense. One of her legs was not meaty. It was just pure skeleton, but like, she's quite hefty. You could tell there's excess plastic on her from all this sculpting. Let's take a look at it. Look at that. And her hands too. They feel really smooth as well. And oh my gosh, I know a lot of people are having this issue with recent G1 releases, but she can actually put her hands down for the most part. Or her arms, I mean. Yeah, her joints are a little stiff, but I think that's good. I think that makes them sturdy. Sorry, she's so tactile. It's really fun just holding her. So I'm getting distracted. But let's start with her head. Here, as you can see, she very much looks like an alien creature from the movie. Her hair is doing a lot of the work to keep that shape. I think this was really smart because otherwise they probably would have just had to sculpt her whole head. You know, there's a lot of debate right now because obviously non-Monster High and non-doll collectors wanted her because she is alien, and they were making the argument that this is more of an action figure. It is not, and I'm glad they kept her hair because that ensures that she is a doll. She definitely is a doll. Just because she is very intricately sculpted does not mean she is not a doll. I am going to keep her hair up like this though, because I do not trust myself to put it back. Although I have seen videos of people who have taken it down and she looks really good. I especially love someone who did let a couple hairs on each side of her face down and then kept the rest up. I think her with those types of bangs looked really pretty. Here you can see her face through her visor. Let me see if I can... You can kind of see her screening. It's quite pretty. She's got a bunch of stars and space motifs on her eyes. The very gaunt cheekbones. Some of the more mechanical aspects to her can be seen as well. There's just so much going on. I really want to know who sculpted her, like the artist, because I'm sure they had a fun time. But yes, the visor goes all the way around. I don't think it's really held up by anything. Oh wait, yes it is. There's like a string here. Even more of a reason not to mess with that. Her neck says 2025 Mattel. So that's crazy. That's a really recent release. And a lot of the times these dolls are, production starts a year before. So the fact that she's 2025 is crazy. They might have started on her like at the beginning of the year for her to release so fast. Here are her alien appendages. And one thing I'm really impressed with, these are solid. These are not cheap little flimsy things like Emily had. Sorry, Emily. These are on there. Like they really went with the action figure-esque plastic style for her. And then her bodice looks like a rib cage. Her tail's kind of getting in the way. I can't really show her to y'all flat on the table because it's pretty stiff. It is fully bendable and really nicely sculpted, as you can see. But there is a wire inside that allows you to bend it like pretty freely. It's fully flexible. That's really cool. But at least this part, obviously, because it needs to stay attached to her, I take that back. Her tail comes off. That's really helpful, actually, for this review. Okay, so moving down to her abdomen, she has this faux leather fabric, again in the style of like a rib cage a little bit. I do think this fabric is probably going to fray in the future, so you may just want to be careful with that and touching it. Not much to her outfit, really. It's really just the transparent top pieces and then her little sheer skirt, which there's tons of notes online about the references they made. I will not be explaining them, but here's a good look at it. It's really cool. Tons and tons of stuff I notice. Her sleeves as well are different. They have different patterns on them. She has the smallest little silver choker. And then her skirt has a Velcro at the front, which I thought was interesting. So it doesn't remove from the back. Slightly stretchy. It does have a small elastic piece in the back. But under that, it's just the bodysuit that continues down in this faux leather. Oh, she's a little top heavy because of her head, obviously. I was going to question decisions, but then I remembered she has a tail, duh. So that has to be there. But yeah, and then the sculpting you can see continues down to her legs, obviously. Amazing, like the veins and the musculature. It's all there. And then, of course, Monster High kills it with the shoes. Amazing. Look at that, wow, I'm blanking. I know what this is. It's the thing that breeds you in the movie. But yeah. Absolutely amazing. Look at that. That's how you do an object heal. Oh my goodness. And then I'm tempted to remove them. Let's see. Okay, so this little tail piece, I love that. I love that the tail is what's going up her leg. Let's see if I can. Okay. Ooh. Okay, a lot of residue fell on my table. I hope that doesn't mean she's painted and this is actual plastic. But moving on, her entire foot is painted. She has claws sculpted into her toes. My goodness. She's stunning. I mean, I have no other words other than wow. Be advised that it was pretty hard to put her shoe back on because of her claws. So if you're thinking about removing her shoe, just be mindful. You may have some trouble getting it back on. Just be very gentle. In addition to that, it seems like the plastic does loosen once you do that because, well, maybe it was already loose, but I will say these top pieces, I don't know if they're supposed to be springing like that, but they are the softer plastic that Emily had. So it might just come out of place if yours doesn't come perfect. I think mine was like curled all the way at the bottom. I have to check the box to see if that's what it was supposed to look like. Either way, it's not really a big deal for me, but just be mindful of that. Once her joints are loosened up, she does move pretty freely. I would say this leg's a little bit too loose, but this one looks fine. Up here's fine. If you're not a Monster High collector and we're thinking about buying this doll, probably secondhand at this point, Monster High dolls have pretty good articulation. They've always been like this. They always have really, really good articulation. That's what made them so part of the reason that they were so popular. It's not special to her specifically. In fact, the Generation 3 has more articulation with an extra chest joint. So they've even improved upon the previous articulation. But here's her tail, and you can just stick it back. But before I do that, I am going to remove her clothing just to see. You know, I'm a little afraid to because the shoes were such a pain to put back on, but I do want to see what most of this entails. So she has protrusions on her back that allow you to simply slide off this piece. So here is her chest piece. It's really cool. I will say, just be very careful when you do it. Because she has these protrusions on her elbow, you very gently really should slide that under before you try to pull it off. Otherwise, you're going to be pulling on this piece and that could tear it. While we're here, look at her amazing hands, and they sculpted claws. We always love a custom hand mold. Really pretty. But yeah, so then this piece just comes off, and all she's left with really under is the bodysuit. And this piece has two parts where you undo the Velcro. Honestly, I should have just pulled off her elbow like I'm doing right now to get this piece off. There's no way I was going to get this piece off with her forearms in there. All right, there she is. So here's what the under part of her outfit looks like, the body piece. Interesting. I really like that idea. I think it was very smart of them to go with something like this. This is one case where I am okay with the bodysuit because it matches what they're going for. Could you have put Alien in a dress? Yes. Would it have looked as nice as it as something like this, where you see majority of her silhouette, like the monster? I personally don't think so. I think they were very smart when trying to make sure the emphasis was her overall sculpt and body silhouette, and then just a few pieces to make it fashion. I do think I wish she had a little bit more to her. Maybe like a ring or accessory or some bracelets. I don't know. Or that she came with one prop. But I see where the budget went. I really do. So I'm not even mad. But yeah, it looks incredible. They did an amazing job. And then just so y'all can see, here's what the top piece fully looks like. I really like the design work that they did. And then I know there's an official word for something like this, but I don't know what I guess just skirt. But it's 3 parts. Really cool. And here's what her abdomen's body sculpt looks like. I do appreciate that they really included a lot of detail, even in areas that just weren't going to be shown. Oh, she has some more licensing there. So there's the doll. Her box also came with a certificate of authenticity. It says, this certifies that your Monster High Skullector alien doll materialized through the collaborative efforts of designers and artists at both 20th Century Studios and Mattel. Which is nice that they include this, but it's printed on such flimsy cardstock. I mean, I wouldn't even call this cardstock. If this took a significant portion of the budget, I'd rather put that elsewhere. Put some effort in it or don't do it at all, is my opinion. And then she also comes with a customized stand for her, which makes sense. She has such a unique body type that I don't think the regular stands would have matched. But I do hate that they are saddle stands, which is what this looks like. So I'm making assumptions. Oh wow, this has a separate piece. Okay, so the base is still the standard Monster High branding, but it's wider. And then that clips there. Pretty simple. Then I'm assuming this clips to the bottom and holds onto her legs. That is my assumption. I'm sticking to it. And let's see how this works. Why is she too tall for her stand? Mattel, explain. Why is she too tall for her stand? They're trying so hard to get us to like these stands, and I'm just not a fan of them. I got her to stand, but as you can see, she is not really on it. She's just kind of balancing on the top piece. This piece, I understand what they're going for, but I think I'm going to have to do this off camera to make it work, because the intent, I'm sure, is to have it attached to her thighs, and it's pretty tight on there, which is nice. I'm still not a fan of these, even with that. because my initial complaint with saddle stands is that the doll just isn't secure on it, especially Monster High dolls. They don't have enough thigh for that. Not enough crotch, if you will, to sit on there. And a lot of the time they are top heavy because they're stylized and the heads are a little bigger than would be the proportions for their body type. So they're very easy to knock off the stand. This should solve the issue, but it still limits you in the posing. I don't like that. And with Emily, it was pretty much useless because of the fact that one of her legs was so thin. They tried this method, even making one of them smaller so that it would fit her small leg, and it just didn't work for me. I ended up just going with one of the Amazon stands that I still had in storage. I might do that with her. I'll still play with it to see if I can get her to stand the way I want her to. But just the idea of one day wanting to change her pose and having to pull this thing off, which this is the clear plastic that's a little more fragile, by the way. It's not the more rubbery plastic like certain other stands. So I will be afraid to pull this off because it is quite tight on the actual stand piece. I gave up on the stand. One thing that you will need to know, if you do take her out of the box, she is very top heavy because of her helmet and her hair concentrated in that area. So putting her on a stand is going to be very finicky and annoying. I will say that. She's also on the Big Sister body, which Morticia Adams, my other Skullector, is also on that body. It's taller than the normal Monster High body, so a lot of the regular ghouls like Draculaura, Claudine are on the regular body, and then they have a sister body that's taller than them. So she is significantly taller to the point where she's kind of right at the edge of this Amazon stand that I have for Emily. So even with Amazon stands, she's kind of finicky. But if you find one that's a bit taller, I think she would work a lot better than this thing. I could not get this thing to work. I hated it. She just kept falling. Again, I'm pretty sure the intent was for this piece to hold her thighs, but they're too wide for her. I don't know what they were thinking. I really need to watch a tutorial and just see how people are using this stand because it just doesn't work for me and I hate them. But that's really all I have. Other than that, I love this doll. I'm so happy to own her. Again, she's really tall, so even especially with her shoes, she has some height to her because of her shoes as well. So just be prepared to have a good stand for her so that you're not struggling to pose her like I was. She's so animated is really what I have to say because of her tail and all of the details in her sculpt and her outfit. The personality is there. There's so much dynamism and opportunity for really good photo shoots with her. I'm so happy I was able to get one. I was really worried that I wasn't, and I would have been very upset that if I didn't. So happy to add her to my collection. There's very few dolls that I would say Mattel has hit it out of the park and were completely worth their price tag. She is one of the few that I definitely think was worth what they were charging for. The last one to earn that title for me was Vampire Heart Draculaura. You can tell where the money went with this doll. So if you have the opportunity to buy her for a good price and you're a fan of Alien, Monster High, and you find this design very appealing and you're kind of on the fence about getting her, honestly, I think you could and you should because she is amazing. I haven't checked the secondhand market for what she goes for, but I'm sure a lot of scalpers are taking the opportunity of people's desperation to get her, which is a shame. But that's all I had. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video.